Alright guys, it gets harder to really go for it as you age, but not in the ways you might think. I just quit my full-time comfy job to build an open source productivity app that has zero revenue and costs thousands of dollars a month. So it's a big swing, and in fact it's the third time I've taken a big swing in the last 10 years where I had a full-time steady job and I quit it to try to build the life that I really wanted. First I was 25, the second one I was 28, the third one now is I'll be 32 in a couple weeks. The objective is the same, however this time it feels different. I've noticed that my skills, my environment, my resources, and my faith have fluctuated over the years. And after studying myself, and let me show you what I mean by that. These are all, except for the green one, from my 20s when I was doing this, trying to make it work. So I've studied myself. I've also studied a lot of people my age who wanted to take risks but haven't. And I've come to a couple conclusions that I want to share with you in this video. If you're an ambitious guy in your 20s, consider this your scouting report for your future self. Understanding these forces might be the difference between creating the life you've always wanted and staying stuck in the life that's been given to you. So I'm going to talk about the 4 forces, break it down, but as you can tell, I'm also in the middle of a workout because this is the only time I can do it, so you're going to have to bear with me while I am a little out of breath. Being an engineer, I wanted to conceptualize this in a number. I took these 4 forces and I gave them rankings from 0 to 10. The output is your readiness as an entrepreneur. The first force that influences your readiness is your skill. And in this sense, it's how good you are at creating and capturing value. At 0, you have no idea how to create anything, let alone charge for it. You have no leverage. And at 10, you can ship and convert people really easily, quickly, and cheaply, and you have high leverage for it. The second force is your environment. So this is everything around you that influences you, where you're living, whether you have pets, kids, or family with you, your expenses, and even your own health. So at 0, it's like you're distracted, you're unhealthy, the home environment you're in, your workspace is chaotic. You have like lots of responsibilities and demands on your time. The rent is high, finances are high, and you're isolated, you're not motivated by other people. And at 10, your environmental readiness for entrepreneurship would look like a peaceful situation, a supportive network, a motivated peer group, a financial lifestyle that supports you taking risks and having delays in your income. The third force that influences your readiness is your resources. I'm talking about raw resources like your access to time, your money, and your connections. At 0, you have no time or money, you're in debt, and you have a weak network. And at 10, you have a lot of control over your schedule, cash in the bank, good credit, and strong relationships. The fourth force is your faith. I don't mean so much religious faith, but belief in yourself and your mission. So I think of faith in this sense as just the opposite of fear. So someone who has 0 faith on this score would be paralyzed by fear. They have a massive ego and a pessimistic worldview, where someone with a 10 would be optimistic, ambitious, trusting, humble enough to learn, and believe that they are on a mission or a purpose, or they're called to something greater. So with that in mind, here's the money shot. Notice how competence and readiness move in opposite directions. Your skill gets better, but your readiness goes down because of the other 3 factors, namely your environment normally gets less conducive for taking this kind of risk. Your resources do go up, but your faith goes down a lot. I'm gonna break down each of these to explain more about the nuances behind that. I'm focused on 20s to 30s because that's the life period I've gone through now, but also because most of you are in this cohort, according to YouTube. Let's dive into early 20s. Your skill in your 20s is low, obviously. Creating value and capturing it requires product marketing In sales, you might be naturally good at one or two, but not all three. And you might be able to overcome those other deficiencies if you're truly great at one of those three, but unless you started in your early teens, at this point, you're not. So you'll just need to get the reps in. It's a grind, but it's also encouraging once you do see some progress. Your environment, most of your existing friends won't be rich, they won't be coupled. They don't know where they're gonna live in a few months probably. So this fluidity makes your business dreams less extreme by comparison. And in fact, starting something often boosts your status at this age. Your ambition will be perceived as confidence and you seem like you have a lot of potential. So not many people will try to convince you that it's too risky because you have so little to lose. On the resources front in your 20s, your lifestyle is probably only slightly more expensive than it was in high school or college, which means you can extend your runway with less, but of course you don't have enough free cash to reinvest in your own development or buying back your time, so there is a constant struggle there. Finally, faith. Your faith is high. You believe in yourself. You think, why wouldn't I be able to make it? You haven't taken enough L's from friends, girlfriends, the job market to get pessimistic at this point. So this leaves you naive and vulnerable, but also it means that you're not ruled by fear or your ego. Okay, mid-20s, a lot can change in a few years. Skill-wise, you're probably not great, but you're proficient. If you worked hard during those early years, you have enough skills to make it work on paper. And you also know what great looks like and what it takes to get there just by virtue of working at a company with at least one person who is great. Your environment has changed a lot. You and your friends figured out taxes kinda, you moved to different cities, maybe you got a promotion, you bought a car, you got your own apartment, then you rescued a dog, and then your girlfriend moved in with you. So taking a big risk on a startup actually will start to feel risky at this point, especially as you watch your friends, the investment bankers and the big tech guys settle into their careers and their lifestyles. The gap between what you would be living like and what they're already living like right now will be apparent at this point. Your life is more complicated and there's no signs of reversing it. Your resources. Your income went up a lot, so you don't feel bad about the higher rent or fancier vacations and clothes, especially since you had hardly anything in college. Like that jump, you really feel it, and it's easy to spend a lot after getting a lot. That dog you got is cute, but sure has a lot of energy and requires more time, so all of a sudden you have less time to work on your side project. Finally, your skills are better, but doubts are starting to creep in at this point. Wasn't Zuck 18 when he started Facebook? I'm already 24, 25. Is it too late for me? Will Cindy leave me if it doesn't work out after a few months? I'll have a down payment if I just keep going like this for another 12, 18 months. I don't want to throw that away. Your sensitivity to failure has inflated as quickly as your lifestyle has in your mid-20s. By your 30s, if you're grinding, you're a senior or your lead at this point. You're approaching greatness in at least one area, and you're confident that you could stack up the other two areas to get to proficiency and then succeed. So in theory, you know you got it at this point, skill-wise. Your environment has changed a lot. You're probably engaged, married, a father, or you feel the pressure to catch up to your friends at this point. Your living environment is more chaotic. Having entrepreneurial ambitions is more likely to alienate you from others your age, as they've made peace with the employee path they've been on for 10 years. In terms of resources, it's harder to carve out long periods of focus for yourself. You have more income than ever before, and hopefully you are investing in some form since you started getting your first job. You might start seeing the magic of compounding working in your favor, which is really enticing. So you think, wow, it's gone up so much already, it's making so much this month. As long as I don't touch it, it'll keep compounding. This makes it less likely for you to want to take financial risks because this is kind of working for you. So like, you don't want to mess this up on your own business, which might not work, right? See how these doubts are starting to creep in? So that leads us to faith. The stakes just seem higher now. Like starting over feels like throwing away your education, feels like throwing away a decade of work experience with your early jobs. It feels like it would strain your relationship, your family. And you think, I've made it this far and it's going okay. Like, I'm definitely a lot better than I was 10 years ago. What if I kept going? Your fear is overshadowing your authentic dreams. You've come up with plenty of rational excuses for minimizing your ambitions. Okay, there's your scouting report. Let's figure out some takeaways here. The first is kind of obvious. Starting sooner is better, but only slightly. Look at the readiness chart again. The least advantageous portion of this decade is only 12% harder than the most. In other words, you're only 12% more ready at your optimal time during this phase of your life than you are at your least optimal time. And that's because each phase comes with valid reasons to play it safe. The real danger with waiting is that you become better at believing your own BS. Deep down, I know that you don't really believe it when you're honest with yourself, but you become better at pretending like you believe the excuses in your head about why you can't do something, why you can't take a big swing. And as a result of that, the longer you wait, the more pain you'll need to experience before being willing to change. It might take losing someone, it might take losing something yourself, like a job or a relationship. Just a harsh realization when you hit the dirty 30 mark and looking back at yourself and being like, man, I've aged, or I've gotten unhealthy, or I thought I would be so much more at this point when I was growing up as a kid. It's gonna take more to slap you out of your stupor and make you realize like, yo, this isn't a dress rehearsal. No one's coming to save me. I gotta figure this shit out if it's ever gonna happen. During the tumult and chaos and multifaceted changes of your early 20s, you kind of get that for free. So take advantage of that once you got it. The second takeaway that didn't sink in for me until recently was how much it pays to create a lifestyle or a commitment to being a contrarian. If what you want is different than what other people have right now, by necessity, this is the most rational way to go about getting it. The right action at each stage is the opposite of what others your age are doing naturally. So you can be a father and still take big risks. You can be a young kid who still saves his money. You can suddenly be decisive even after a decade of indecision. If everyone is out studying, if everyone's out partying, study. If they're buying houses in the burbs, move into the city and get 3 roommates. If they're getting dad bods, get jacked. And if their careers are stabilizing, it's time to jeopardize yours. Remember, what you want as an output is the opposite of what these people have. So why wouldn't the inputs have to be polar opposites also? Finally, a realization that was hard for me to accept is that the price is the price. The sooner you accept it, the better. Depending on the day, a big risk can feel either empowering or crippling. Emotions are naturally volatile in games where outcomes are non-linear. It's going to be hard to stay stoic and steady when you're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks like you used to, even if you might be putting in more work than ever before. Accepting the price of your dream life keeps those emotions under control a little bit. What do I mean by the price? The pursuit of your dream, if it's not ordinary to other people your age, probably will require that you lose all your current friends, except for maybe 1 or 2. Your family relationships are strained. You don't get to have a dog. You break up with your girlfriend. You don't hit any PRs in the gym anymore, for a little bit at least. You don't buy a home or move into a nice apartment, even if you could. And you're cooking a lot instead of eating out and living a cool life. Your Instagram's gonna suck. It might be banging right now, but it's gonna have to suck for a little bit. That's the price. The moment you make peace with those trade-offs is the moment that you reclaim control over your emotions. The game rewards those who surrender and punishes those who try to negotiate the rules. How willing are you to accept that? while my post-workout meal is cooking, let me tell you that if you like this style of content, you might like it in your inbox. You can go to the link below and get it directly in your email next time. But if you like the video, subscribe, and I'll be here in the next one. After I finish this, let me explain what it is. It's egg, beef, a lot of hot sauce, and a lot of mustard, and I'm gonna put it in a wrap. Look at this. It looks kind of childish, honestly. It looks like a third grader created it, but macro-wise it's pretty good, and I'm gonna put it on this wheat bread. I'm cutting, so having good food feels really good. Anyway, enough about me. Go take big risks and prosper, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.